Hello, everyone, and welcome back to In the Art Podcast with your host, Constable and Braden Cox, as we record here live. Braden and I don't really record live very often as we live in different states, but we record here live. It is now October 31st. Braden, happy Halloween. And the New York Yankees have just lost the World Series to the Los Angeles Dodgers in 5 games. So Braden and I are going to give you guys our reaction, to the loss. I'm sure many of you have watched. If you're watching this, you probably watched the game. Just absolute heartbreaker. I feel like the Yankees were really had momentum in the first few innings there, and then obviously that 5th inning, everything just went downhill. Braden and I are going to give you our reactions to the game and to the series and to the season in general. Braden, I'm sure you're not feeling very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, just give me your
Yeah,
thoughts.
I mean, obviously you feel very defeated, especially after the game 5 that we just watched, right? Because those first 3 games, you really thought that the team was dead, and then they just gave you a little ounce of hope yesterday when they dropped what was the final score, 11-4 or 5 or something like that. So you felt like if the bats get going again, like you can send this series back to LA, and then you feel like you're playing with house money. And they kind of did that to start the game. Judge hit a 2-run shot. Jazz followed it up. It was 4-0 in the second inning. Maybe even 5-0. But regardless, it felt like that they did everything right. And then they sold. Like, I don't know any other way to put it besides they kind of sold there. I mean, I think it starts with, Judge was playing horrible for those first 3 games, and then he kind of came alive in that 4th game, of course, with their backs up against the wall. And he had that great catch in the 3rd inning?
That was the 4th.
The 4th inning, he had that great catch, and he already had the home run, so you're like, okay, like you're feeling good, but then he just drops that routine pop-up. And that is really, for me, like that's where the game changed, because, you can look at the thing with the ground out to, it wasn't an out, but the shot to Volpe to Jazz, and like, it's probably the right play. It was a weird play that you don't probably practice that often, right? Yeah. And then people will obviously look at what happened with Collin and Rizzo, but to me, like, it starts with Judge, and I'm not trying to be a hater because I love Judge, but like, and he came through offensively tonight. He had a double in the 7th or 8th inning, but dude, that routine pop up, that's 1 out. Instead of runners on first and second with no outs, it could be runner on first with 1 out, and then they get whoever the 9-hole hitter was tonight, I forget. But then they got and then they got Ohtani swinging, and then that's the end of the inning, and then you get out of it unscathed, and you still feel very good, but instead it's 5-5 very quick. So it's tough to talk about because you felt like the Dodgers didn't even win tonight. The Yankees just sold and it was their fault, entirely.
Beat themselves.
There was a couple instances where they did leave a lot of runners on base. I think there were 2 times that they had bases loaded. So that's obviously an issue too. But it's that. But to me, it's like if you don't give up a 5 spot in the 5th inning, we're having a different conversation. Yeah. We're having an entirely different conversation. That's not to say that the Dodgers wouldn't have fought back, but it would have been a lot tougher. It was kind of like, hey, we're going to let you even the game up. So.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think kind of got everything out of the way. I think it's just, like I said before, just absolutely heartbreaking. If you're going to lose, you can't beat yourselves in an elimination game. You can't have 3 errors. I know they rolled
the Jazz Volpe one. Not an error, but
to me, it's not an error.
It's the right play. It was just tough. It was tough play.
A tough play to make. I wouldn't give that an error, but the Judge drop, the Cole Rizzo. I know some people are saying Rizzo, some people are saying it's Cole. Either way, you gotta make the out. Miscommunications, lack of chemistry. It looks like to me.
Yeah. And I hate to keep bringing you back to this, but if Judge makes that routine pop up, and I get it's a team game, but we're not even talking about Rizzo Cole.
Yeah, man, it just sucks. It seems like the bats finally woke up.
Yeah.
And then the Dodgers go there and tie it, and you could tell the Yankees were not as loose as they were those first 3 innings.
Yeah.
And they kind of they did tack on a run The Dodgers took it right back and then ended up taking the lead too.
Stanton had a ton of fight, and like, we'll talk about the series as a whole, but like for at least those first 3 games, it seemed to me that the only 2 guys offensively that wanted it were Stanton and Glaber, right? And maybe like you could throw Soto in there, right? But it obviously wasn't Judge. But Glaber was at least like he was getting on base.
Glaber played great until tonight. I would say.
Yeah,
this was the first bad. He had that one blunder game 1, but offensively he was fine. Yeah, and he really only made 1 blunder defensively all postseason. I think he had he was on base every game this postseason except for tonight. Yeah. It's bound to happen. I'm not blaming Glaber. You can't point your fingers at one guy. You can't point your fingers at Boone for throwing in Nestor in game 1. You can't point your fingers at Judge for not hitting the first couple games. You can't point your finger at Glaber for making a blunder. You can't point your finger at Tommy Clancy for loading up the bases with no outs tonight.
It's a team game.
It's a team game
for sure.
But at the end of the day, it's just that's a game you need to win. You're up 5-0. You need to win the game. They choked it away. They choked it away. They folded, and now the Dodgers are World Series champs. Do I think the Yankees could have gone back and won 2 games in LA? Absolutely not.
Well, I mean, like
realistically, absolutely not.
Here's the thing, though, man. Is like I understand your perspective there, right? But think about like if you execute tonight, right? And if you don't give up the Freddie Freeman grand slam in game 1. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that, you hate to point at specific plays, but you look at game 1 and the Yankees, to me, easily could have stolen that game and blew it with one bad pitching decision where Nestor, who hadn't pitched in, I think, over a month, comes into the game and has to face Ohtani, who he gets out. Yeah. Thanks to the heroics of Verdugo. But then Freddie Freeman, it was like clockwork. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and then game 2 was bad. That was what they had one hit or something like that through X number of innings.
They had one hit off Yamamoto, and that was a Soto home run, solo shot, I think.
But my point is if you were able to execute from the beginning, it would have helped you down the road. But at the end of the day, you got to give credit where credit's due. I'm not afraid to admit that even going into this series, we both knew that the Dodgers were the better team.
They play a better brand of baseball.
Exactly, they're much more clean.
They execute. Yeah. They play great defense all around. Yeah. They really make many blunders, all postseason. Yeah. The pitching has a little more depth, I would say. Yeah. I think the Yankees relievers ran out of gas tonight. Yeah. We saw it from Weaver. I think Tommy was running out of gas tonight. Yep. And offensively, I would say the bottom of the lineup for the Yankees actually did play well these past couple games, but Dodgers are better, faster, more athletic, better base running. I think that was really the difference. Just play a better brand, more clean brand of baseball, and we've seen it with the Yankees all season where they make these mistakes. They make mental errors. They make errors in the field. They make base running mistakes, and I think we saw that, especially in that 5th inning there, and costed them a game and ended up costing them the World Series.
Yeah, and the Dodgers 1 through 9. Definitely, going into the series scares you more than the Yankees 1 through 9, even with a Judge and a Soto and a Stanton clicking, just because their bottom of their lineup is probably the best in the league, right? You can't really deny that, especially after what we saw this series. And another part that really bites about this is Ohtani wasn't even a factor,
especially after that game. Was that game 2? He hurt his shoulder. After that, he was way out of it.
And it's kind of funny because we're going back to the wild card round where Fox is airing these commercials where they basically were predicting and setting up a Yankees-Dodgers World Series. I know all of y'all saw the commercials. If you watched any of these games where 2-3 weeks ago we're seeing ads for Ohtani and Judge, playoff ads, you know what I mean? But they were really just trying to foreshadow a World Series, and both of those guys until Judge yesterday were irrelevant this series. Yeah. And you can point at Ohtani's obviously his when he dislocated his shoulder or whatever it was. Yeah. But you took those 2 guys out of it, and it at the end of the day it was Freeman you just kept giving him inside fastballs.
Yeah.
Like,
that's how he hit his grand slam. That's how he hit his 2-run home run. I think
the one he had yesterday wasn't. It was away.
Yeah. But even his single today was a fastball inside.
Yeah.
And they'd scored 2 runs.
Yeah.
And I think I was gonna make this point already, but the worst part about this to me is the fact that the Dodgers celebrated their World Series win in the Bronx. You think, guy leaves a bad taste in your mouth as fans, I'm sure as players too.
I could not imagine being in the stadium.
Yeah, fans, especially fans spending all that money and then getting 5-0 lead. You think, okay, let's go. We're going back to LA.
Stadium's rocking.
I mean, there was no doubt in my mind that we were going back to LA with Cole on the mound tonight. No doubt in my mind. And then it just, the Judge thing, and then
the Judge, dude,
was a cheap hit. Like, I know we're Dodgers running the ball hard, except for Teoscar, that one drive. Other than that,
he doesn't drive that ball if
you could go back to the if Judge doesn't drop the ball. I know, but
I hate to keep going back to that, but to me that changed the game because
it
was the most routine play. Like the one that happened between Volpe and Jazz is not something that is probably practiced often, so I can't blame them too much. And the thing with Cole and Rizzo, you're right, it probably is a chemistry thing, but it was also a weird play. I mean, the Judge one was right to him.
Cole executed his pitch against Mookie.
Yeah.
It just sucks. He executed his pitch against who did Judge drop the ball? Was that Edmund? Was that an Edmund fly ball?
I don't remember, but it's irrelevant.
Doesn't matter. Cole executed I think 5 unearned runs Cole let up. I think Cole went 7 or did he go 6? He went 6 1/3 or 6 2/3.
Something like that, yeah.
No earned runs.
Yeah,
you can't really
you look at the stat line and you're like, no earned runs. I don't know how many hits he gave up. 4, 5.
Yeah, I mean,
total maybe.
Yeah.
And then you look at that and you're like, oh, the Yankees are up 6-0, but it was 6-5. I don't know.
Definitely,
it kind of feels like it's the story of the season though in one game.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Listen, the bats came alive, but when push came to shove, it's like the Dodgers were able to do those fundamental things.
You can't give the Dodgers that many free outs, especially in one inning.
The Dodgers just fundamentally,
they'll take advantage of your mistakes.
Yeah.
The Dodgers take advantage of your mistakes and they don't make mistakes. So it's how you win baseball games.
Yeah, I mean they did make a mistake tonight. I don't know. Someone bobbled the ground ball.
That was Tommy Edman.
Was it Edman? Yeah. So
wait, no, that was last night.
Was that last night?
Yeah, I think that was last night.
But it's all blurring together.
Yeah.
But regardless. As far as the season goes, like I said, it kind of felt like it was the whole season as a whole. And I know that might just be really greedy of me to say because the team still won the AL and still had the most wins in the American League and if they don't slump, if they don't have a horrible 6 weeks, they probably have home field advantage in the World Series, and then there's pretty much no excuse at all. But for the people who have been watching from Game 1 in Houston, right? Through tonight, the story of the season, how it was very hot and very cold, and you can't have that happen in the World Series. No. And basically, they'd even play I don't even look at really Game 1, right? But Game 2 and Game 3, they were flat, and that is enough, right? So, and like you said, you go down 3-0. And of course, when you win yesterday and the way that they clicked, you're like, okay, maybe there's something here. Realistically, if the Yankees were to go and win 4 straight, it would be something we've never seen before. So in the back of our mind, we knew even if this were to get to a Game 7, it would just be, the odds would be so stacked.
Yeah, the bullpen would be gas.
But it's just the way you lost tonight because you would have liked, if you go to LA and you lose, and it's not the way it was.
It's
tonight. You don't beat yourself.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
And they just beat. It's not even 7-0. It's just if they play better and they look like the better team as they are the better team, you're not as upset. But you look at it tonight and it's like, wow, they didn't even give themselves a chance because they beat themselves.
Yeah, themselves. But a lot of questions this offseason now. Where's Soto going? Where's Glaber going? Who's going to be playing left field next year? A lot of questions. Brandon and I will be covering that in the offseason. Yeah. Probably will give a little bit more football episodes. Yeah. We're full swing of football. But at the end of the day, I don't know if this is recency bias, but this just feels like the worst postseason exit for the Yankees in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you were down 3-0, 3-1, but at the same time, like, this was a definition of the Yankees beat themselves. When they lost to the Astros a couple years ago, that was the Astros being the better team.
Yeah.
When they lost to the Red Sox, that wild card, the Red Sox were the better team.
Yeah, I don't even look at that as...
And the Astros swept the Yankees in the ALCS a couple years
ago.
They were the better team, 2019.
Yeah.
Same thing with the 2018 Red Sox. But it just, this year, it's just, it sucks. I think They think mostly because the Yankees beat themselves. And you would have liked to see them win one more in the Bronx and take it back to LA and go from there, right?
Yeah.
But we said that multiple times, right? But that's what really stinks to me is the fact they lost on the home turf.
Yeah.
In the Bronx. Bronx was rocking.
Yeah.
It was rocking.
They showed Billy's. Billy's was chaotic.
It was rocking. But it just sucks for those fans to spend all that money. Really expecting to win. But, you know,
especially after those first 2 innings, you were pretty set.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
no lead safe against the Dodgers, but the way they blew the lead is just it was mind-boggling, it was mind-numbing, it was
and they're gonna,
heartbreaking.
Like you said, like all off season, like you can look at any one play this series. Obviously, you're gonna see replays of what Freddie Freeman did in Game 1, but I'm telling you, man, they're going to look at that Judge pop-up, and they're going to be like, hey, man, like, you guys probably don't win this series, but the captain's kind of was, you got to make that play because it changed the game. And yeah, I agree with you. I think at least of the recent playoff exits for the Yankees, I don't even really look at 2022 because, like, that was just kind of, it felt like a joke going into that. Like, the Yankees had no chance. Even all the ones against the Astros, when Jose Altuve hit the walk-off against Chapman, that really hurt. But, like, that's baseball. Like, you know what I mean? And then, like you said, the Red Sox, I don't really look at. Yeah, I mean, it could be the recency bias in us, but yeah, this one stings, even though you felt that the Dodgers were the better team, simply because they beat themselves. Right? It wasn't, it was top to bottom. They beat themselves tonight. It sucks.
Just the way they lost in a World Series elimination game. It's gonna be a long off season, I would say. It really feels similar to my Bengals losing the AFC Championship game that one year, or even the Super Bowl that one year. Yeah. It's gonna feel like a long off season, but Braeden and I will be covering the whole thing. So yeah, thanks everyone for following along this season. I mean, it was a heck of a ride. I mean, they made it to the World Series. They haven't done that since 2009.
This is their second year doing this.
We can look at the positives here. But yeah, just like I said, just the way they lost it tonight was just not going to sit right for. It's going to leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth for a couple of months. So
yeah, and I'll just add real quick, like going into the off season, the Yankees have a ton of question marks. Like, yeah, I know you mentioned Soto, you mentioned Glaber. What about Boone? Like, is that that's probably a question mark, right? He's not probably going to go anywhere, but like, Girardi was fired after that Game 7 loss, right? Like,
I don't think Girardi and Girardi, Howell, and Brian Cashman saw eye to eye as much as Boone.
And that's fair, right? But my point is this is probably worse than that. So like, if you're going to use that same logic, versus the Dodgers, like, I'm not going to like allude to anything, but I can't imagine they're not the best team next year, especially if Ohtani can pitch like out of bullpen, right? Like, this was a season where Tyler Glasnow was hurt, right? Like, they had like some of their best players just didn't play. I know we can talk about Clayton Kershaw and how he didn't do anything, obviously. Right. But like, they didn't have Glasnow, and they didn't, Ohtani didn't pitch, and it's like, they still bested you. And like I said, Ohtani wasn't even a factor.
No.
Like, it really came down to, I don't have any of the stats, obviously, off the top of my head, but, it sucks. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, just sucks.
Yeah.
All right, I think that about wraps it up here. Thanks everyone for following along. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for following along all season about the Yanks. I think we will, if you guys are still watching. I think Braeden and I are going to be doing some voicemail. So if you want to leave a voicemail, you call Braeden or I and give us your thoughts, and we'll react to it live or not live, pre-recorded on the pod.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks everyone for listening and following along. Forever go Yankees. Yeah. Heck of a season. Just sucks the way that they had to go out, but we'll be covering them all off season because there's gonna be a lot of questions
for sure.
Yeah. So thanks for listening.
Yeah. See you guys.